Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited about the Halloween season coming up, and I decided to do something a little bit different. I was very much inspired by the Simply Meant to Be confetti mix from This Calls for Confetti. I'll be using the Decorate a Tree die set, my very favorite Build a Pumpkin Patch die set, and a couple of different stamp sets to decorate my tree in addition to the Simply Meant to Be confetti mix. I did all of the die cutting off camera just in the interest of time, but I did want to share a couple of things that I did do. I had run the little garland through my Xyron machine to turn it into a sticker so I didn't have to try and avoid getting liquid glue all over myself. Then I dug through the Simply Meant to Be confetti mix and picked out the little purple gemstones and glued that onto the little garland. Next, I had die cut the tree from black cardstock and used liquid glue to adhere those pieces together. Once my tree was put together, it was time to decorate my tree. As I had mentioned, I was inspired by the Simply Meant to Be confetti mix because it kind of reminded me of The Nightmare Before Christmas, and that is why I decided to create a Halloween tree. Anyway, moving right along, after I had removed the garland from the backing from my Xyron machine, I laid those on the tree, and then I started to decorate the tree, and it was easier for me to decorate each section above and below the garland so that I didn't get it overcrowded. Now, the one thing that I do want to point out is that the little stars and the moons that are in the Simply Meant to Be confetti mix, they glow in the dark. After I had all of my bits and pieces from the confetti mix adhered, I decided that I needed to add a couple of pumpkin ornaments. I used the bunch of small pumpkin die from the Build a Pumpkin Patch die set and ran those through my die cut machine with orange cardstock. I didn't add any shading or coloring to them, I just glued them directly onto the tree. I set my tree aside so all of the glue could dry and I started to work on my background. I used a circle die to create a mask so I could mask off a moon, and then I came in with melon ice ink and did ink blending with my blending brush just around the moon and then a little bit further down. I wanted to have a really nice bright glow around the moon. Then I came in with lime Ricky ink and blended out a little bit more. Then I came in with grass skirt ink and added a little bit of a darker green. Then I went back over it again with the lime Ricky ink, and yes, this is a whole lot of ink blending, but I wanted to make sure that it was nice and blended. The one thing about these inks is they look blotchy when you first start doing the ink blending, but once the ink dries, it levels out and the blotchiness goes away. Once I was done with the top part of the panel with the green inks, I brought in some Twilight ink to add a little bit of gray, and then I came in with Blackjack ink and did a heavier hand around the outer edges. I finished up the bottom of that panel with the melon ice so that it would be brighter at the bottom. I removed the mask for the moon, and then I did simple ink blending with a couple of yellow inks just to have my moon have some color to it. Then I came in with a C1 marker and started adding in my little craters. I didn't overthink it, I just randomly started drawing in little splotchy splotches and then blended that out with C0 and C00. Once I was done adding the craters to the moon, I had die cut a grassy hill from the Grass and Cloud Edger die set, and I just used a piece of scratch cardstock, and then I came in with the Blackjack ink to add some hills onto the very bottom of that panel. And then I darkened up the edge a little bit with the same Blackjack ink along the bottom. Of course, I had to have some splatter, so I used my Zig Cartoonist pen and put some on an acrylic block, added a little bit of water, and then just splattered that over my background panel. I set that panel aside to dry completely, and once it was dry, I ran it through the Slimline Card Builder die set to cut that panel down to about 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. I used my tape runner to adhere the tree to my ink blended panel, and then I used my tape runner to adhere that panel to a piece of black cardstock that I cut just slightly larger than my background panel. For the pumpkins at the bottom of the tree, I added a little bit of shading with Copic markers, and then I used the micro pattern stamp set and the Halloween postage stamp set to add some texture to those pumpkins. I cheated a little bit by arranging the pumpkins and then picking them up with some press and seal. Then I added a little bit of foam tape to the back of the pumpkins and pressed them into place. Next, I adhered that whole panel to my card base, which measures 3.5 by 8.5. And I couldn't resist adding just a little bit of shimmer to the pumpkin ornaments, so I used my Wink of Stella glitter pen for that. I realized that the bottom was kind of heavy after I was done, so I brought out the You're My Boo stamp set. I stamped the word Halloween and ran it through my scan and cut machine. I placed the word Halloween on the front of my card, just as a placeholder so I could stamp the word Happy. Once I stamped the word Happy, I used liquid glue to adhere the word Halloween, and that's it. That finishes up my card for today. And I'll be sure to have all of the products that I used listed in the description box below for you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, we'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.